As we come to the end of this first exploration, we must realize that understanding the theory of meaning is not enough. Logotherapy is not a philosophy for books, it is a philosophy for life. The question is no longer what is the meaning of life, but rather how will I answer the questions life is asking me today. To begin this journey of transformation, we must change our fundamental perspective. We must stop asking what we want from life and start asking what life, in this very moment, is expecting from us. I want to leave you with a powerful exercise that Viktor Frankl often suggested to his patients. It is a thought experiment that can change the way you see your present. Imagine that you are living for the second time and that you acted as wrongly the first time as you are about to act now. This mental shift is profound. It forces us to realize the weight of our responsibility in the now. Every moment is a crossroad where we decide which possibility we will bring into reality and which ones we will leave behind. We are the architects of our own character, and every decision is a brick in the building of our legacy. If you feel overwhelmed by the existential vacuum we discussed at the beginning, start small. Look around you. Is there a task you have been avoiding? Is there a person who needs your attention? Is there a small beauty you have failed to notice? Meaning is not found in the grand gestures of history books, but in the tiny, honest responses we give to our daily duties. Your life is a unique task, a specific mission that no one else can fulfill. If you don't do what you were meant to do, that specific light will remain missing from the world forever. Thank you for joining me in this new space. My goal with the Will to Meaning is to create a sanctuary of thought where we can rediscover the depths of our own humanity. We are just beginning to scratch the surface of the immense wisdom that logotherapy offers. If you found value in these words, I invite you to subscribe and join our community. Share this with someone who might be struggling to find their path. And remember, no matter how dark the night may seem, your life never ceases to have a meaning. It is waiting for you to detect it. I will see you in the next episode as we continue to explore the art of living with purpose.
There is a common misconception in our modern culture that mental health is synonymous with a state of complete equilibrium, a life without stress, without conflict, and without tension. We are often told that the goal of life is to reach a Zen state where nothing disturbs our inner peace. However, logotherapy challenges this idea head-on. Viktor Frankl argued that what a human being actually needs is not a tensionless state, but rather the striving and struggling for a worthwhile goal, a mission freely chosen. He called this Noö-dynamics. In physics, tension is what holds a structure together. Without it, the bridge collapses. The same is true for the human spirit. We need the healthy tension between who we are right now and who we are called to become. When we try to eliminate all tension, when we have no why to wake up for, we don't find peace. We find the existential vacuum. This is why we see so many people who have perfect health and financial security, yet they feel profoundly miserable. They lack the vital tension of a purpose. But where does the strength to face this tension come from? It comes from what Frankl termed the defiant power of the human spirit. This is the unique capacity of the human person to take a stand, not only against external circumstances, but also against our own internal conditions. It is the ability to say no to our fears, no to our laziness, and no to the dark thoughts that tell us to give up. We are not just a collection of psychological drives or biological needs. We have a spirit that can defy even the most crushing reality. This power allows us to practice what we call self-detachment. This means we can step outside of ourselves and look at our problems from a distance. We can even use humor as a weapon against our own anxieties. By realizing that we are more than our suffering, we reclaim our agency.
We realize that while we cannot always control what happens to our bodies or our emotions, our spirit remains sovereign. It is this defiant power that allows a prisoner in a camp to share a piece of bread with someone hungrier than himself, or a person in grief to find the strength to comfort others. It is the proof that we are never truly victims of our environment, as long as we remember that we are the masters of our inner response. Now that we understand that our primary drive is the search for meaning, the question becomes, how do we find it? Meaning is not something we invent or create out of thin air to feel better. It is something we must detect in the world around us. Viktor Frankl was very clear that meaning is objective in the sense that it exists outside of our ego, waiting to be fulfilled. He identified 3 primary pathways through which we can discover this purpose, even in the most mundane or difficult circumstances. The first path is through creative values. This is what we give to the world. It involves our work, our hobbies, or any act of creation. However, it is important to understand that work here doesn't necessarily mean a high-paying career or a prestigious title. A person cleaning the streets can find as much meaning in their contribution to the community as a scientist in a lab. The meaning comes from the realization that we are doing something that only we can do in that specific way, contributing our unique essence to a task that benefits others. It is the joy of being useful, of building something that outlasts our immediate presence. The second path is through experiential values. This is what we take from the world. It is the meaning we find in experiencing something or someone in all its uniqueness. It could be the overwhelming beauty of a sunset, the profound silence of a forest, or the appreciation of a great work of art. But most importantly, this path includes the experience of love. In logotherapy, love is the only way to grasp another human being in the innermost core of their personality. When we love, we see the potential in the other person that they might not even see themselves, and by doing so, we help that potential become a reality. Meaning in this sense is not about doing, but about being and witnessing. The third and most profound path is through attitudinal values. This is the path we take when we face a situation that we cannot change, an incurable illness, a deep loss, or an inevitable tragedy. When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. This is where the human spirit truly shines. We find meaning by the stand we take toward a fate that seems cruel. We transform a personal tragedy into a triumph. We turn suffering into a human achievement. Even when everything else is stripped away, our health, our wealth, our freedom, the one thing that remains is the last of human freedoms, the ability to choose our attitude in any given set of circumstances. These 3 paths ensure that as long as there is breath in our lungs, there is an opportunity for meaning. To understand how to fill the vacuum we discussed in the previous block, we must dive into the heart of logotherapy. The term logos comes from the Greek word for meaning. Therefore, logotherapy is literally healing through meaning. But to appreciate its power, we have to look at how it differs from other perspectives. For decades, traditional psychology often viewed the human being as a creature driven by hidden impulses or biological instincts. Sigmund Freud spoke of the will to pleasure, suggesting our primary goal is to satisfy our desires and avoid pain. Later, Alfred Adler proposed the will to power, focusing on our need for social status and superiority. While pleasure and power are certainly part of the human experience, Viktor Frankl realized they were not enough. He observed that when people lack meaning, they try to compensate with an excess of pleasure or a desperate grasp for power. But these are mere substitutes. The core tenet of logotherapy is that the primary motivational force in man is the will to meaning. We are not just biological machines reacting to stimuli, we are spiritual beings, in the anthropological sense, searching for a reason to exist. Frankl's perspective is revolutionary because it restores human dignity. It tells us that we are not merely the product of our genetics or our environment. Between the stimulus of what happens to us and our response, there is a space, and in that space lies our freedom and our power to choose. This is what Frankl called the spiritual dimension of the person. It is that part of you that can take a stand against your own emotions, your own fears, and even your own past. In logotherapy, we don't ask the abstract question, what is the meaning of life? That is like asking a chess champion, what is the best move in the world? The best move depends on the game, the opponent, and the moment. Similarly, the meaning of life is not a general theory. It is specific and concrete for every individual. Life does not just happen to us, life questions us. Every day, every hour, life poses us a challenge, and we can only answer by being responsible. Responsibility, therefore, is the very essence of human existence. It is the ability to respond to the tasks that life sets before us. By shifting our focus from what I want from life to what life expects from me, we begin to break the walls of the existential vacuum. Welcome to the very first step of a journey that is as much yours as it is mine. We live in an era of unprecedented progress. We have conquered the skies, digitized our memories, and placed the world's knowledge in the palm of our hands. We have more comfort, more entertainment, and more connectivity than any generation that walked this earth before us. And yet, if we are honest, there is a silent shadow looming over our modern cathedrals of glass and steel. It is a quiet, persistent ache, a feeling that despite having everything we are told we need to be happy, something fundamental is missing. Viktor Frankl, the psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor who founded Logotherapy, gave this feeling a name: the existential vacuum. He described it as a state of inner emptiness, a void where meaning used to reside. It's that hollow sensation that hits you on a Sunday afternoon when the noise stops, or late at night when the screen goes dark. It is the realization that we have the means to live, but we have lost the why to live for. In the past, traditions, clear social structures, and common values told us what we should do. Today, those traditions are fading. We are left with a terrifying level of freedom, but without a compass. When we don't know what we should do, we often end up doing what other people do, which is conformism, or doing what other people want us to do, which is total submission to external influence. The existential vacuum manifests itself in many ways: in an insatiable hunger for distraction, in the pursuit of power just to feel important, or in the frantic search for pleasure to numb the pain of boredom. But boredom, according to Frankl, is actually a sign of our humanity. No animal is bored. Only the human being experiences the tension of an unfulfilled life. This channel, the will to meaning, is born from the conviction that this void is not a disease to be cured with pills, but a challenge to be met with courage. It is a call from your spirit, asking you to stop running and start searching. Because, as we will explore today, your life has a meaning that is waiting patiently to be detected by you.